Why are you so tense, god damn it?
Because I don't know what I'm doing!
Calm down.
Hello everybody, it's Philly Kuts with another boxing review. This time, Pacquiao versus Timothy Bradley 2. The fight that never should have happened, the fight that never should have been, the fight because of crazy judges, one in particular C.J. Ross, who has since been ousted, forced retirement, I believe, or voluntary retirement, probably because she was getting so many death threats, because she's been making so many bad decisions over the years in her boxing judging. Well, what can I say? This fight was much more competitive than the last fight, in which, let's face it, Pacquiao completely destroyed Bradley in that first fight. I had it scored 10 rounds to 2 for Pac-Man. This fight was a bit closer. Ultimately, in the end, I had this fight scored for Pac-Man Pacquiao 8-4. I had Bradley winning rounds 1, 4, 5, and 11. And that was it. So going into, the 6th round, it was Bradley's fight. Bradley was doing really well. He started out well, kind of had a fast, relentless pace. He was bringing it to the Pac-Man, putting on a lot of pressure, landing some good punches, working Pac-Man's body. He was looking good. He was looking good. But then, around round 6, things started to change. I think that Bradley just couldn't keep up with that pace, couldn't keep up with the things that Manny does, which is a lot of head bobbing, footwork, tiring his opponents out, making his opponents turn funny ways. That's what happened. Pac-Man really just started to take control after round 6. I had Pacquiao winning, rounds 6 through 10. Clean sweep. He was just getting in some good combinations, getting Bradley up against the ropes, knocking him into the ropes. There were a few points in the fight where I felt that the ropes saved Bradley. He got knocked so hard into the ropes by Pac-Man, actually kept him up. It was also, I forget which round now, but I believe it was in round 8 maybe, or 9 perhaps, where Manny was throwing like 10 punch combinations. And, Bradley was dodging some of them. But when you're bobbing and weaving and trying to dodge punches like that, that's going to tire you out, man. That's just going to straight up tire you out. And I think that that's what happened. Bradley got tired. He also says that he messed up his calf, pulled his right calf, I believe, at the end of round 7. So it's amazing to think that Manny Pac-Man, at 35 years old, was able to keep a relentless pace for this entire fight, and he was able to do that to one Timothy Bradley, a 30-year-old American fighter who's in the prime of his career and in the prime of peak conditioning. I'll tell you something. When I saw the weigh-in the night before the fight, I was a bit concerned for Pac-Man. I thought that Timothy Bradley looked much more developed. He looked stronger. He looked more solid to me. His muscles just had more thickness. He looked just so brolic, to put it in an old school word. But he looked jacked. Not to say that Manny didn't look like he was in great, conditioning. He always is. But Bradley just looked so powerful to weigh in. And I got to give him a lot of credit, too, because being that this fight was in Vegas, and there are tons of Filipinos that live in Vegas, it was an extremely pro-Pacquiao crowd, both at the weigh-in and both at the fight. So, Bradley, I thought he did great assuming the role of the villain. He was really, taunting people at the weigh-in. Come on, let me hear it. Let me hear your boos. Come on, that's just going to fuel me, man. It's just going to fuel. Almost had like a WWE element to it in a way. But I thought he embraced that role really well. And let's face it, this is a guy who has really been, living, breathing, and eating Manny Pacquiao for the past 2 years when you really think about it. 9 months after he was given the victory by the judges, which is through no fault of his own, it was judging. 9 months later, he fought Manny's sparring partner, former sparring partner, Ruslan Pacquiao. And, this was a period of time where Bradley freely admits that he was in a deep depression. He was angry. Couldn't understand why people were being so hostile towards him. He was depressed. Couldn't handle being called a fake champion. Couldn't handle being, discredited. And he went out in that fight, which was also a very controversial fight, and he tried to be a different kind of Tim Bradley. He tried to be really aggressive and bullish, and it really, it almost cost him that fight. Got knocked down twice, too, I believe. And all because, it's the shadows of Pacquiao, really. He really wanted to, stick it to Pacquiao in a way, and wanted to destroy Ruslan. Then, fast forward to his next fight, he fights Marquez. 1 degree of separation. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, 1 degree of separation from Manny Pacquiao. And I thought that Bradley was very, very impressive in that fight, and did tremendous. Tremendous fight for Bradley. And he schooled Marquez, made Marquez look very old and slow and sluggish. So Bradley, this has just been a long, long journey for him, I think. And I just think for the past 2 years, it's really just been all about Pacquiao in a way. And he's probably exhausted from it. And in a strange way, I wouldn't be surprised if he's probably pretty relieved that this is all over, for him, potentially. Although, who knows? They're already talking about Pac-Man Bradley 3 in 2015, perhaps. But I really don't see why that should happen. Manny really is 2-0 in this series. He really is. He really is. You would have to be on crack to really think that Bradley won that first fight. You really do. And watch it without the HBO comment? No. And so I want to give Bradley a lot of credit. I have a lot of respect for Timothy Bradley. I'll continue to watch his fights. I'm not sure where he's going to go from here, but there's tons of fighters in that welterweight division and around that division. So I really think that it's going to be an exciting time. Pac-Man, what can we say, 35 years old, he may not be the Pacquiao of old. He may not be that Class 5 Hurricane anymore. He may not be that Class 5 Hurricane in the '08. But the man still is a Class 4 or Class 3, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, he can still do what he can do in a lot of areas. He can still has amazing stamina, his amazing footwork, does a lot of intangible things that win fights. He may not be getting those knockouts like he once did. He may not be steamrolling people like he once did. Hey man, Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, King Conan. You know what I mean? You go through phases in your life. You go through phases in your career. Jordan wasn't the same player on the Wizards, right? He wasn't exactly top tier after that either. But Manny can still fight. He can still fight, and this proves that he is still of the top echelon of boxing. And we all want the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight to happen, but I'm tired of talking about it. Because it's just, Mayweather's a pussy. I'm going to leave it at that. And he wants to make shitty deals with Pacquiao. And it's the whole now top rank HBO bullshit. Or Golden Boy. I don't even know what it is anymore. These different promotions and companies. And it's just frustrating, and it robs us, the fans, of what we really want to see. What's going to be next for Pac-Man? Well, I think that he's most likely going to fight, the Alvarado-Marquez fight, the winner of that fight, I would think. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed big time for Marquez to win that fight, because I really, really want to see Pac-Man Marquez 5, and I want to see Pac-Man avenge that loss and get a knockout. That would be awesome. Awesome. And that would be ranked as one of the greatest rivalries ever in the history of boxing. You know, Ali Frazier, right up in there. Right up in there. So, I'm hoping that Pac-Man stays true to his word and will try to fight for another 2 years. So then hopefully we will at least see 4 more fights from Pac-Man. Who knows, maybe one day God will fall down from the sky, his big hand, and he'll bring these two men of Mayweather and Pac-Man together somehow, some way, and they'll fight. They will fight. Most likely not. But again, it was a great fight. It was a great fight, much better than the first fight. Pac-Man still dominated. Like I said, I had it scored 8-4. Pac-Man once again landed more punches. He was more accurate. He landed more power punches. Bradley just couldn't. He couldn't keep the pace. And I think that once he realized that that Manny still had the power in him, things really changed after that 6th round. And Manny just dominated from then on in. From then on in, he just dominated for the reasons I mentioned earlier before. And it is quite impressive. Quite impressive when you really think about it, that 5-year age differential. So, thanks for watching. It's Philly Kuts. Peace.